Good evening, I'm Rohit Sharma and welcome to Desi from DC, coming to you every night from the heart of Washington. This is where America's power corridor meet India's prime time to break down the political, economic and global stories that shape both nations live from Washington DC. From Capitol Hill to Risana Hill, we connect the dots between what happens here in Washington and how it echoes back home in India. We begin tonight with the big stories of the day. US-India forged deeper strategic partnership. Fed cuts rates, signal cautious future. ICE purchases Boeing jets for deportations. Democrats win Miami mayoral race after decades. And Trump demands tourist social media history. Today on Desi from DC, a stunning warning from Capitol Hill. Not from analysts, not from lobbyists, but from the US lawmakers themselves. And they're saying something Washington almost never admits. America is at the risk of losing India. Yes, that is exactly the message that was given on the Capitol Hill tonight. And it wasn't just one voice. Members of the most prominent House Affairs Foreign Committee spoke today, and their message was kind of a diplomatic earthquake. Let me walk you through what happened today. The first alarm came from Congresswoman Sydney Kamalager-Dove. She did not mince any words. She called the US-India partnership defining for the 21st century. Defense, climate, AI, energy, space, all of America's future depends on it. And then she delivered the gut punch. When President Trump returned to the office this year, he inherited the relationship at the height of its strength. Decades of trust, a revitalized Quad, a thriving defense-tech partnership. And what happened next? Flush, flush, flush. Those were the words used by Congresswoman Dove. She said decades of diplomatic capital were thrown down the toilet, not because of strategy, but because of personal grudges. And what she called a Nobel Peace Prize obsession. She listed the damage. 50% tariffs on India, one of the highest anywhere. Leader-level meetings derailed. The Quad Summit indefinitely postponed. And that 100,000 H-1B fees, which hits the Indian the hardest because Indians hold 70% of those visas, her conclusion was brutal. Unless things change, President Trump will become the president who lost India. Not pushed away, but somebody that chased India away. And remember, this isn't coming from New Delhi. These aren't like analysts just talking about this. This is coming from Washington's own lawmakers. Then came Congressman Amy Bera, a seasoned voice on the US-India relations. He said America has concerns about India's close relationship with Russia, but he also said something Washington rarely admits. India can help end the Russia-Ukraine war. Why? Because India has influence in Moscow and has great relations with Ukraine. Influence that US may not necessarily have. So instead of alienating India with tariffs, Bera said the US should be working with New Delhi and not driving it away. She raised multiple issues, but two of them were very prominent. First, she met an advocacy group this morning about rising anti-Indian hate in the US, and her message was clear. Indians are not just residents. They're running Fortune 500 companies. They're leading cutting-edge research. They're powering America's economic engine. Second, she asked a question that many in India have been asking for months. Why does Pakistan face just 19% tariffs while India, America's strategic partner, faces 50%? What kind of message does this send to our ally, our partner India? So after months of staying silent, today we saw something rare, a bipartisan realization in Washington that America cannot afford to lose India. Because if the US steps back, someone else steps forward. Russia, China, take your pick. India is just not another partner. It is central to the future of Indo-Pacific and to the global balance of power. Congressman McDuff ended with a warning. Being a coercive partner has a cost, and the US is paying that cost now in lost trust, lost opportunities, and a shrinking presence in the Indo-Pacific. She even brought a big poster in the hearing, one that showcased the selfie, the Modi-Putin selfie, the car selfie that broke the internet last week. And above that picture was a picture of three leaders, Russia, India, and China, the leaders meeting at the SCO. So here's the question that Washington must answer. How do you expect to lead the 21st century if you alienate the very partner who actually defines it? On Capitol Hill today, these lawmakers made something very clear. If America wants India on its side, this is the moment to fix the relationship. The Federal Reserve cut interest rates again today for the third consecutive time this year, but the decision was anything but unified. In a rare show of division not seen in over 5 years, 3 board members voted against the move, signaling turbulent waters ahead for the monetary policy. The Fed lowered its benchmark rate by a quarter point to 3.5% to 3.75%, but the 9-3 vote exposed deep fractures. Governor Stephen Miran pushed for a larger cut, while 2 regional presidents wanted no cut at all. The Fed's projections suggest just one more cut in 2026 and maybe another one in 2027, with inflation still elevated to 2.8%, well above the 2% target. The timing couldn't be more sensitive. Fed Chair Jerome Powell has just 3 meetings left before his term ends, and President Trump has made clear he wants a successor who favors lower rates, with markets betting heavily on National Economic Council Director Kevin Hassett as the next chair. Adding complexity, the Fed will resume buying Treasury securities to ease funding market pressures, a significant shift after months of balance sheet reduction. All this unfolds as incomplete government data from recent shutdown forces the Fed to navigate largely in the dark, making the road ahead increasingly uncertain for monetary policy and the American economy. History was made in Miami tonight. Democrat Ellen Higgins has won the city's mayoral race, becoming the first Democratic mayor in nearly 3 decades and the first woman ever elected to the position. Her victory marks a significant political shift in a city that has long been a Republican stronghold. The 61-year-old former county commissioner secured a decisive victory with 59% of the vote, defeating Republican Emilio Gonzalez, who had the backing of both President Trump and Florida Governor Ron DeSantis. This wasn't just a local race, it was a referendum on leadership style and values in one of America's most vibrant and diverse cities. Addressing supporters at her victory party, Higgins declared, "Miami chose a new direction. You choose competence over chaos." She campaigned heavily on affordable housing and immigration reform, pledging to lead a city that belongs to everyone. Now, Higgins did not shy away from drawing sharp contrasts with President Trump throughout her campaign.
It was a very exciting day yesterday in the city of Miami. The residents decided to embark upon a different direction, one especially focused on making sure they get a city government that focuses on getting things done. That's going to mean for me a lot of work getting in there in the administration and looking for ways that the city can become more efficient, can serve its residents better, can make sure that we're operating in a cost-effective manner so that the people who live here get the government they deserve, a government that treats them as if they are customers. I am so honored that our incredibly beautiful, diverse community selected me to take on this task in the coming years.
She called his immigration enforcement policies inhumane and cruel, and emphasized her different approach to governing Miami's large immigrant community. While she's promised to work with Trump administration on issues where they can find common ground, she made it crystal clear she won't hesitate to speak out when they disagree. It's a bold stance for a newly elected mayor in Florida, a state that has trended increasingly Republican in recent years. A message of competence, inclusivity, and standing up for local values clearly resonated with Miami voters ready for a change. This win continues a string of Democratic victories in Trump's second term, including mayoral and gubernatorial races in New York, Virginia, and New Jersey. Higgins had backing from prominent Democrats like Pete Buttigieg, signaling what many see as a turning tide in American politics. In a world of digital noise and controversy, one leader stands out for his quiet influence. Neil Mohan, CEO of YouTube, has been named Time's 2025 CEO of the Year. Born in Indiana, raised partly in Lucknow, and educated at Stanford, Mohan leads a platform that reaches billions daily. Under him, YouTube TV has surged. Shorts reach 2 billion users monthly, and AI is shaping creativity. Colleagues describe him as unflappable, a leader who listens more than he speaks. Here's a report.
In a digital world defined by noise, controversy, and rapid change, one figure has emerged with a remarkably steady hand. Neil Mohan, the CEO of YouTube, has been named Time's 2025 CEO of the Year. It's a recognition not just of leadership, but of influence, the kind that extends to billions of people across continents, cultures, and every screen we touch. Mohan's story begins far from Silicon Valley. Born in Indiana and raised partly in Lucknow, India, his childhood was shaped by two very different worlds. In Lucknow, he studied Hindi and Sanskrit, languages rooted in structure and precision. He later reflected that learning Sanskrit felt a lot like learning computer programming, a poetic foreshadowing of the life that awaited him. After returning to the United States, Mohan pursued engineering at Stanford, followed by an MBA, the classic pathway for many tech leaders. But what set him apart was never the resume. It was his approach. Calm, thoughtful, quietly analytical. In the years that followed, Mohan played key roles at Google, helping build some of the company's most successful advertising and video products. And in 2023, he stepped into one of the most complex jobs in technology, leading YouTube. Under his leadership, the platform has expanded in ways few predicted. YouTube TV has grown into a major force in American households. YouTube Shorts now reaches more than 2 billion users each month, reflecting a global shift in how people consume video. Long-form creators are supported with new tools, and AI features from dubbing to editing are beginning to reshape what online creativity looks like. Through all of it, Mohan has maintained a reputation for being unflappable. Time describes him as deliberative, hard to ruffle. Colleagues say he listens more than he speaks and leads with clarity rather than spectacle. Away from the office, he's a father who attends dance recitals, a sports fan, and someone with a known fondness for Butterfinger candy. Small reminders that even the leaders of vast platforms are in many ways just like us. But the scale of YouTube today is anything but ordinary. It is where news breaks, where culture spreads, where children learn, and where entire communities take shape. To guide such a platform isn't simply a corporate responsibility, it's a cultural one. From the classrooms of Lucknow to the center of the global digital ecosystem, his story is a reminder of how quietly transformative leadership can be. And in an age defined by loud personalities, sometimes the most influential voice is the one that chooses to speak softly. With Rohit Sharma, Bureau Report, India Today Global.
The nation's capital is dressed in its holiday's finest. Washington, D.C. is sparkling with Christmas spirit, from the towering Capitol tree and the White House's national Christmas tree to the twinkling lights of Georgetown's historic streets. Modern landmarks like City Center and the Wharf join century-old icons like the Willard Hotel is celebrating the season. Let's have a look at a city that's transformed into winter wonderland. And that wraps up tonight's edition of Desi from DC. This is Rohit Sharma for India Today and India Today Global. And if you're watching this on India Today Global's YouTube channel, don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button before you leave. Stay informed, stay tuned, and as always, stay curious. Thank you for watching, and goodbye.